Hi, everybody. It's Julie Huck with the Agent of Change platform. And today I have a really awesome guest. It is Mindi Carr, who is our marketing director for the Ed Huck team with Keller Williams. And we have been working with Mindi, how many years?
I think it's been just over 2 years.
Yes. Well, it feels like forever because when Mindi started, she really has brought her expertise in marketing and events and graphics and design, all the things that we thought we knew. She's brought a whole nother perspective to us. And that's why I wanted to share an interview with her today around holding events. And so, Mindi, can you just give us a quick background of who you are and where your expertise came from?
Sure. So I've been in the marketing world, in the marketing industry for a long time, and I've worked in a variety of different settings. I've been on the agency side. I've done nonprofit work. I've owned my own business doing marketing consulting for a while. So I've really had a tremendous amount of exposure and experience to all different types of settings. And I've always been really focused on local community relations, community outreach, and engaging with the community for, whatever purpose, whatever organization I was working with.
Mm-hmm. And so when we've partnered together, tell us how you took your experience and merged it into the world of real estate, because you had never worked in real estate before. How was that? How did that, go for you?
So even though the real estate part was completely new and different for me, the idea of building this community and engaging the local community with the story that we wanted to tell as the Ed Huck team, and really building that network of those brand ambassadors and reaching out, that's just so in line with everything that I've done in the past. So it was actually a really easy transition because again, just really focused on growing that network, growing that database, using marketing techniques to really have that exposure in the community is what I've been really focused on.
And I know, so Ed and I the Ed Huck team has been around a long time. Ed's been selling real estate for 30 years and the team's been around for about 20, we say, right?
Right.
And Ed has always been really in front of the marketing piece, making sure that we have a brand. And that's what we love so much about being part of Keller Williams, is it's all about our brand because it's all about our business, right? And we've always done events because events have been really an important part of our business model, because our business has always brought in around 65 to 75% referrals from our database.
Right.
So, we talk a lot about how the database is the most important. Keeping your past clients and sphere close is the most important. So we've always been able to do that pretty organically by using events. And as our team has grown, we have kind of slowly gone from small little events, parties at our house, to bigger events to more focused events. And now that Mindi's on our team, it's gotten to a whole nother level. And that's why we created a presentation that we want to share with you today around, how can you actually use these events, whether you're a brand new solo independent agent doing it on your own, or if you are running a large team, or if you're somewhere in the middle, how can you use these events to capture your clients, to, nurture your database, to stay in front of your past clients and sphere. So do you want to dig into it, Mindi? Because I would love to just go through this presentation with everybody.
Right. And I just want to add to that. That was one of the things that really, another thing, I guess I should say, that drew me to partnering with the Ed Huck team was there was that immediate connection, because as a marketing professional, I've always felt that events are extremely important. They're one of the things that I would encourage everyone to have as part of their marketing mix, whether they're small scale or large scale, it doesn't matter. And having that synergy of the Ed Huck team believing so strongly in the power of events. And then having that from, as a passion of mine and a personal belief, it was really wonderful to come on board and continue to build on what you guys had already started.
Yeah. And so I know a lot of agents sometimes get overwhelmed thinking about an event,
Right.
I am not an event planner.
Right.
I don't want to be an event planner. I don't have time for events. So we'll talk about that a little bit in terms of how you just incorporate it into your, day-to-day business and your prospecting and your lead gen, and ways to make it fun, ways to do events that, are on every scale. So
I think to make events really attainable for everyone. It shouldn't be something that is intimidating or something that you feel like, oh, that's, it has to be a really big blown out event. It's, there's a very strategic and mindful purpose as to why you would include events in your marketing plan.
Yes. And I will say that now that Mindy's on board with us, because when you're running your own business, I know there's a lot on your plate and it is really difficult to stay in front of things. When she started, it was fly by the seat of your pants. We're doing an event this month. Now we are at a point, and it did not happen overnight, so don't panic, but now we're at a point where in January, Mindy and Ed sit down, they go through the whole calendar and they create a marketing calendar, right?
Yep.
And month by month. And what do you do with that marketing calendar? What do you plug into that?
We usually try and identify what we're going to be focused on marketing wise each month from a content standpoint, or in other words, a communication standpoint, the types of things that we want to be talking about that month. And then we usually fold in events, all different types of events, which I know we're going to dive into here in a minute, but all different types, small events, bigger events, new customer events, past client events. There's a wide range of things that we're doing to continue to, engage with people.
Yes. And you plan it out for the entire year.
Right. Yes.
You plan all of the communications around it out for the entire year so that we know what we're budgeting.
Right.
We know who we need to partner with. We know how to plan for the year. And I will say it didn't used to be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way when you're first kind of dipping your toe into getting started with events. But it is amazing once you have that plan in place, how you can be really strategic and focused, and it's not as overwhelming as it seems. So, well, because Mindy's doing the work, so she's so good. Well, so let me share my screen really quick here, and we're going to dig into just the first question, Mindy, and you can take this, is why should we be including events in our marketing? Why?
Well, I think everybody, when they immediately start to talk about, or initially start to talk about events, it somehow becomes focused on attendance. Well, how many people are going to come? And that's how we're going to measure the success. And that's kind of one of the first things I wanted to talk about right away, is that the benefits of holding an event are really twofold. There's two big reasons why you want to host an event. And the first is that it's an opportunity to connect with your audience. And it's a way for you to always have something to talk about. And what I mean by that is, if you're posting on social, or if you're sending out an email, all of the tools that you have in your marketing mix, that in your marketing tool bag that you're using, this gives you something to talk about. The event is really allowing you to talk about who you are and what's important to you and how you can help your customers. And it's essentially driving content for you. So that's kind of what I like to talk about as this next level strategy, is don't only judge an event on attendance. Of course, attendance is important. You don't want to be continually hosting events that nobody comes to. That means you're not really connecting with your audience. However, if your expectation is a huge group of people and you get a small, really wonderful group of engaged participants, that's a win. Because not only are you looking at how many people came to the event, but you should also really be looking at oh my gosh, did somebody engage with this post on social? You know, did someone respond to my email? Did, you know, someone on our team have a conversation about this that led to, you know, a possible lead? Like looking at all the ways that you're using this event to talk about yourself, to give you something to talk about.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, as I'm helping agents get up and running and doing a lot of sales training with agents and trying to teach agents how to build their business and prospect, one of the things I hear a lot is, I don't know what to say. I
Right.
don't want to keep calling the people
Right.
in my sphere and just saying, hi, how are you doing? Because I just called them a couple months
Right.
ago, and I'm not going to keep saying, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate? Which you should always ask. So for us, having multiple events is really giving our agents something to talk about. Like you said,
Right.
we're coming from contribution. We're calling because we think this would be a really interesting event for you to learn, or a really fun event for you to take part in, or something that maybe your friends and family might want to know about.
Right.
And when you're coming from contribution, people are happy to hear from you.
Right. It gives you opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have had otherwise from a marketing standpoint. Is it an ad that you can run just for this particular event? Or, is it a different audience that you can connect with? And I know we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more, but I mean, really, events are such a huge communication opportunity that it's almost not about how many people show up.
No, and that I will say that has been a very large mind shift for many of us. For all of us, really, because I think a lot of times if we're focused on who shows up,
right?
And you constantly are saying it's not about the number of people show up. It's about how much communication did you do around the event? How many contacts have you had? How much social media engagement did you gain? How many emails went out and were opened? All of that's the lead gen that we're actually focused on. And you say it has nothing to do with the actual event. Right. I mean, it has something to do with it, but in the long game,
and I think the key to that is exactly what this, presentation that you're putting together for agents is all about. If you're doing it in a way that makes financial sense, of course, please don't go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on an event and then have no one show up. That is very disappointing and frustrating. And we're not talking about that really. What we're talking about is, these events that don't break the bank, that are very financially easy to take on, and they have such an upside to them that it's really okay, if you don't have a huge amount of people come, because you've got all these other benefits along the way, and you were financially, responsible in terms of the budgeting. I mean, it really should work out, should be a very positive thing for the agents and the teams that are doing this type of thing.
Okay, so let's see, what's the second benefit of hosting your event is that.
Right. So really the events that you are putting on, whether they're small scale or large scale, it really should help you create this connection with the people that are coming. So that's the benefit. Okay. So you have, 10 people that come to your event. These 10 people that came to this event are going to really be engaged in your brand story. You're going to have, they're going to have a really positive experience that they're going to be talking to their friends and family about. And it really helps create that connection. And that is, I think, the really second, most important benefit is creating that connection with your clients or potential clients. It's the easiest way to create brand loyalty.
And how do you define sharing your brand story?
So you want to do something, when you're hosting an event, you want to do something that is really, it really helps people understand what's important to you or you and your organization. Obviously it needs to be, we're in the real estate industry. So obviously we're going to do real estate events, but how can we do it in a way that really focuses on what our mission is, or what, is important to our team, what distinguishes our team? That's what you're always trying to do, is show people that we're different because of X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank, whatever works for your group.
Do you have an example of things that we've done to show what the Ed Huck team's mission was?
Well, I think in that particular case, a lot of it comes in when we're doing our presentation materials and, the differences that set our team apart. But I think there is a big part of it that's always kind of focused on contribution, when we're participating in events or when we're partnering with a charity. We always try and stay local. I think that's really important. And I think just the type of event that we provide, whenever we're doing, I always like to say, we want to surprise people, or Julia loves it when I talk about the surprise and delight, because that's something I learned at the Ritz Carlton. That's something that is a little bit unexpected in a really nice way. And that tends to leave a lasting impression. And so always kind of being mindful of that when we're planning and executing events, and how can we take it to that level. I think that says a lot about who our team is, because we're very service oriented
and generous, and part of the community. And that is really important to our mission. So that does make sense. So we have broken down the events into 3 categories that we do here on our team. And some of you may already do these, which is fantastic. Hopefully we'll share a little bit about how we do these certain events. But the first level is educational events. Can you talk to us about those, Mindy?
Yeah, so these events are designed to demonstrate your expertise in real estate and provide value to your clients. It's very simple. These are, we do these throughout the year, and we try and do them in different ways so we can connect with different audiences. Obviously, seller's workshop, buyer's workshop, those are pretty standard. But we'll do a downsizing, or a 55 and older, or first-time home buyer. So that's where we're kind of switching and looking at a niche. And that, again, allows us to talk about something very specific. Now we're on social media and we're looking for first-time home buyers, or talking to first-time home buyers. And then also what we've had some fun with is doing seasonal type educational events. So, buying in a hot summer market, or in the fall, we've done a buyers and brews. And we have, all the great fall beers, the Oktoberfest, all the fun stuff that's happening then. And why are we doing that? Because now we can have these fun social media posts about coming to buyers and brews, and, just kind of doing things in a different way. We're just talking about it and getting people's attention in different ways.
And so again, I was talking to somebody about these the other day, and we were talking about a buyer's workshop and a seller's workshop, and they started to get a tiny bit overwhelmed about just the content. And what I said to them is, it's really content that you already present. You already have a listing presentation. You already have a buyer consultation, hopefully. And it's really just taking that content and breaking it down. And then we always invite a partner who is another expert. So an expert stager or an expert lender. And that way they kind of take a portion of the presentation, and they're responsible for that portion. So really you don't have too much to present on, and you can stand up there and you can be the expert. You can be the one that understands, this aspect of the real estate industry.
And you're demonstrating your expertise in something that you're probably talking about every day, talking to buyers or sellers and talking to clients every day. And so this really allows you to just put it kind of in a different platform, still talk about the same things. And, again, like you said, we often bring a partner in. And what's great about that is that you really want to encourage any partner you bring in to also share on their marketing channels. So they can post the event on social. They can send out an email to, their sphere, inviting them to come as well. So you're really getting that dual marketing.
And hopefully dual financial responsibility as well, because I mean, if you have a seller's workshop or a buyer's workshop and you do it at your office, or you do it, in a community room somewhere, it's really barely any cost. We'll go over the budgets in a moment.
Yes.
But if you do go to a brewery, there will be more costs involved. So sharing that with a partner is always really a smart idea. And I know many of our allied resources want to help us and share that expense with us, because we're the ones doing a lot of the promotion to our spheres and our clients. I have one other question while we're on the educational event for you.
Sure.
What have you found? I had this question asked to me recently is, do you do them in person or do you do them on the Zoom?
That has been the hot topic.
Yes.
And I don't think, so Zoom, okay, so we'll just break it down, right? So Zoom is obviously convenient. And I think there's some times where a Zoom event can be really effective, because we do an ongoing Zoom event, as you know, once a month. And it's something that's repetitive, and it's something that it's the initial first step. And so it makes sense. Like, it's not that big of a commitment for you to hop online and do that Zoom event.
Right.
However, I don't personally believe that Zoom events will ever replace in-person events. And it goes back to what we were talking about before, is it's really an opportunity to develop a personal relationship with those guests. You're bringing them into your space or a space that you've selected. You know, being in real estate, it's such a personal experience that I think setting that tone out of the gate, it really allows you to build that rapport with them. And really, again, back to that brand story, what, you know, they come into our office, they see our space, they see the level of professionalism that we have, and that the way we present. And you can replicate some of that on Zoom, but I think ultimately it's really hard. And I think if you're looking at some of the different types of events, some of them make a little bit more sense than others. Some of them I would actually never replace with a Zoom event.
Like a downsizing, or, you know, something that you're trying to target, you know, the older adult market, you probably aren't going to want to do too much Zoom.
Right.
And
then also, I think too, you know, and Julie, I know we've talked about this, sometimes by having an in-person event, again, if you're not worried about exactly how many people you have there, you get those really engaged people. You get the people that really want to be there, that are invested in what you are presenting that evening or the event that you're hosting, versus, you know, I think it's a lot easier to just be like, oh, I'll drop into that Zoom event, which is okay for some purposes. But I think, you know, something to keep in mind as you're planning your events is, would you rather have, you know, a little bit bigger group of maybe not so, they're kind of like, you know, on the fence, or would you rather have people that took the time, came, and are really invested in, you know, the event that you're hosting?
Absolutely. And, you know, we do most of our registration is, we just use a Google form that goes into an Excel spreadsheet, and that's easily transferred into your database. And so if you're really just adding numbers to your database, sometimes maybe you want to do a bunch of Zooms and just have people register. I have found on my Zoom events, you will get a lot of registrations, which is great because you're getting their name, email, phone number, whatever you require. And not a lot of people show up. It's like, I don't even know what the percentage is, 20% show up. So again, going back to the fact of, it doesn't matter how many people show up to these events. It's all about the marketing and the prospecting and the conversations that are had around these events. I mean, our agents take flyers to their open houses. They know how to promote them. And it's just a reason to really come with something to offer someone and a hook to have them then say yes and sign up to work with us.
Part of that marketing plan that you mentioned earlier is there's also a section, it's the call schedule. So basically, you know, as we identify what the content is going to be that month and the events that are going to be that month, we also talk about, you know, the key communication points that allow our team members to know, okay, this month we're calling to talk about a seller's workshop, and these are the types of things, you know, the key messages that we want to be giving in that instance.
Yeah, so they know exactly how to promote it, when it is, what to say. And the other thing is, we did have an experience where, you know, we allow our agents to kind of take the lead on these events, and, you know, they kind of rotate of who's going to host them, because we have 12 agents. And recently our agent said, oh, only 2 couples signed up and they canceled the event. They thought it wasn't worthwhile. And a couple other couples actually showed up, who didn't register. And, you know, what we like to say is, you know, even if you have one person show up, like I just did an event and I had one person, but it was the best conversation that I've had. And it only takes one person to buy a house or sell their house, right? That's a very successful event.
Right.
I would rather have one person who is 100% engaged than 50 people who don't care to be there. So,
well, and if you look at, okay, so you had one person show up for the event, but you reached, you know, a couple thousand people with your email,
right.
You know, hundreds of people with your social media, you know, whatever your breakdown is, you know, I mean, again, it's all about looking at it from that holistic point of view of it's all beneficial. Everything about it is beneficial.
And with you're telling your brand story, even through these educational events, and whether they come or not, you're positioning yourself as the expert. I am the expert in sellers. I'm the expert in buyers. I'm the expert in downsizing, you know.
Yes.
And you're just positioning yourself
in, you know, fall beer.
Why not?
However you do it.
You will attract the right, you know, depending on what topic you want, you can attract anybody. And like you said, it's a target. You're targeting your audience.
And you're having fun with it too. I think that's the thing too. You know, have fun with it. It doesn't always have to be just the, you know, just the straight up sellers workshop, you know. Play with it, have some fun, show your personality too. I think that's a great thing.
Absolutely. And so like having, a sample budget. So this is really good. So let's do a sample budget of a seller's workshop. So
sure. So this doesn't take into account, like you just said, if you had to rent a space, but I know there's plenty of spaces, you know, that you can use for free if you're looking for them at, you know, different libraries or different places around town. But so that doesn't take into account that, because we have a space that we can use, but we spend $0 on marketing because we're using all of our existing digital channels. You know, we're using social media, we're using email. We ask our team members to reach out to their clients or potential clients, because again, events give you something to talk about. So it's about those texts, it's about those emails, it's about those phone calls. Event materials, also $0, because we have a Google slide presentation that we share on the screen, and that's pretty much all you need. It's just, you know, be prepared to go through. People always seem to be interested in what's happening with the current market, you know, so just that updated market information can always be very helpful to those who attend. And then refreshments. I think this is, you know, something that we are really, again, shows who we are as professionals. We don't go crazy, but we typically spend about $100 for this type of event. And it's just, you know, light refreshments and some different drink options so that everyone can just, you know, kind of relax a little bit and enjoy the presentation. And
I will add that in all of these events that we're talking about, once you create the presentation the first time, once you create any social media graphics, whether you outsource that or you do it in-house on Canva, once you create it, you can save it, and they're templates to use forevermore. You don't have to change any of it.
No.
We don't. We just keep it the same.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a social media graphic.
Bottom line is this, you know, this type of event, very easy to coordinate and put together, and you're spending about $100, give or take.
Yep. And if you're a brand new agent, you can put this together. You can partner with a lender. You can partner with a stager.
Yeah.
All 3 of you can contribute to the food, and all 3 of you can contribute to the expertise and the marketing and networking and getting people there. So it'll make it really beneficial.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the next event is a networking event. These are a little bit more fun, I think. You can
they definitely have a social kind of, I don't know, edge to them, I guess, but they're designed to be, you know, fun and engaging and a way to socialize with your contacts and build your database essentially. And so we've had some really fun things that our team has done, and these are a few examples. But I know that some of our agents in the past have hosted complimentary housewarming parties, and I love this idea. So I haven't actually experienced one of these, but I've heard a lot about them.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I was just talking about this with somebody else, we used to do them all the time because it was the
COVID. I think COVID had an impact on it.
It did. And I think, you know, getting larger, getting busy, but you know, it just kind of started to become overwhelming for us. However, every agent on their own can be doing this. And especially if, you know, if you're not selling a ton of homes every month, if you're only closing 2 to 5 homes, like you can do 5 housewarming parties, you know, or 2 housewarming parties. That's where it kind of started to get a little bit overwhelming. But the coolest thing about them is, I mean, you're telling, basically what you do is you say, hey, you know, our team provides a complimentary housewarming party. We'd love to provide food from this restaurant or pizza. We would love to send out the invites. Just send me a list of the people that you want to invite, and that way you get their information.
I think from a marketing standpoint, these are so like strategically savvy, and they seem so smart and easy.
Well, and then when you're there,
you're meeting all the people.
You're there with their grandma, their aunts, their uncles, their friends.
The neighbors on the street. You invite the neighbors on the street to come. And now you're making all those contacts. I really think this idea is just wonderful. It's a great idea.
And we didn't get into like the alcohol section. Like we would just say, we'll provide the food, you provide the drinks, and people were fine with that. If it is a very, very high-end home and you made a very, very large commission, you might want to step it up. We've had agents bring in like personal chefs or do a catered meal at their house and do an intimate dinner party. It's all what your client wants. And those clients, when you're there, because you do show up, you have to show up. That's the other thing. Don't do this and not show up. When you're there, they're like, this is my realtor and they did this and you have to meet them, and you know, that whole thing. So,
and it's that level of service again, demonstrating who you are as a professional, what your team is all about, you know, that level of service. I mean, I've bought and sold several houses, and if one of my agents was like, we want to have you, this is before I was with the Ed Huck team, but if they, you know, offer to do this, I just think it's such a fantastic, easy idea to really make your clients feel special and to potentially find some, you know, new clients.
Absolutely.
It's just a win-win.
You grow your database no matter what. And it's so smart. Okay. What else can we do for networking events?
I love the idea of a sip and shop. I know there's several local, I know one of our team members recently just did this. You know, we've aided them in getting these put together as well. And I just think it's a great idea. You partner with a local boutique or a local store and organization, you select a time. They're interested in this type of thing because it's bringing customers into their store. And you invite, you know, your friends, you invite your clients, you invite potential clients, and you just come, and it's a certain time where the store is open. And a lot of times they might have a special drink or a special cocktail, but you don't even need to do that. You know, it's just kind of a fun
and a discount.
It's like local.
The store will usually say, we'll give you a discount because that helps you to get your friends to come. And
it's fun. You know, I think that you can do it with all different types of stores. I mean, if you think about, you know, you can do it in lots of different ways, but it's just a fun way to get people together that doesn't seem so, you know, heavy or focused. It's just another opportunity to have something to talk about.
We had an agent actually do a shopping kind of networking event. And then she partnered it with her favorite charity. And the boutique, all the proceeds from, or not all the proceeds, of course, but a percentage of the proceeds then went to the dog charity that she was really passionate about.
Right.
So not only did she pull in her sphere and her past clients into the shopping event, she also then connected, her love for the dog rescue organization that she was passionate about.
And that's that's the next one on the list, is a charity event.
Charity, yep.
Because, that's another terrific opportunity. You can either, buy a table for a different, an event, or you can, I know like, Jenny, she does like a bowling event every year where she buys the lanes and invites, it's a bowling fundraiser event, and she could use something like that to invite guests to, previous clients or potential clients, however you want to use that. But I think that's also another really fun way, because it's, something that you're obviously passionate about, and it engages people to come and get to know you better and, hang out.
And I will say also, when you start doing these, you spurred my memory with Jenny's bowling, it's an annual thing. Like, we've been doing this since my children were little, and they're not little anymore, but they love this charity event, and she does it every single year. And it becomes kind of this tradition on, in your company, within your friends, in your sphere. And then it also, some of these events, if you do them every single year, can become really amazing team building opportunities.
And also people begin to expect them and look forward to them. So that's a great part about it too. And if you are spending money, again, we're, trying to be mindful of expenses. Well, hopefully you're supporting a charity that you're really passionate about, and you feel good about giving them money anyway. So again, it's another win-win, where you're supporting an organization that you want to support, and you're using it as a networking opportunity.
Yes. And so hosting a party, I wanted to put this on here because, when Ed and I were just getting started, even before I met Ed, when he was selling real estate, his event was literally a party at his house, and he would have an Ohio State Buckeyes party. And he would invite, his friends and his family, and then every single person he knew in his database, which usually it was like his past clients or A list, your Magic 50 or whatever you call your VIP list, the people who have bought or sold a home with you or are a referral source. Those people went on his party list. And it was just so brilliant, because it just made you feel like you were his friend. You're just part of his circle. You're part of his life. It's not like I'm a realtor and you're my client. It's like, we're now buddies, like we're together. And that is how you keep clients for life.
That's forming those connections. Like we talked about at the beginning, there's no better way to form that connection than a shared experience like that.
And he never knew how many people were going to come. He would just like throw it out there. And he would also do, when we got married, we did like Cinco de Mayo party every single year. Again, people just started looking forward to it. We would invite everybody. And then he would do like, hey, we're doing a ski trip. We're headed to New York, and who in my database likes to ski? Let's go. I mean, it was just a very easy way to kind of include these folks and connect with them on a higher level. And it really did build bonds and referral networks. So
when I was working on it, when, we were putting this presentation together, originally this said, who doesn't love a party? Because it's true. I mean, the easiest thing to probably do is set your budget for what you feel comfortable spending, and then, have a party and invite people to come. And it's, who doesn't love a party? Gives you something to talk about. I mean, that's kind of the basics. And the next level strategy here would be to keep it local. Because again, I think that really helps, whether if you're, obviously the housewarming party, hopefully you're inviting a lot of the neighbors. If you're doing a sip and shop, you're highlighting a local business, a local small business, which is wonderful. And you're building those connections there. Same with a nonprofit organization. And then, I love the ideas. We've done tailgate events here where, we're putting the Browns game on here. And, anytime I think you can get that hometown feeling going to, it's such important to this industry that we're a part of.
Absolutely. And so sample budget for, let's say, a housewarming event. Let's highlight that sample budget.
Sure. So again, invitations, I would go digital on this. So you can use Evite or paperless post or one of those options, whatever you feel comfortable with. As you mentioned, you ask the clients who they want to invite, right? And so they're providing you with their mailing list of addresses. Now those people are now part of your sphere as well. I love the idea. You print out the invite, you go to the neighbors and invite the neighbors to come. How nice is that as well for the new homeowner to get to meet the people that are living around them?
And you're doing the door knocking.
Right.
That's easy.
Right. And so I think that is really cost-effective way. I put on here for the food and beverages, that's really your choice. But, I think it's important to maybe establish how many people we're going to be inviting out of the gate. But, it can be pizza, it can be something easy, or it can be trays of, lasagna or pasta or however you want to do it, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, it doesn't have to be a huge investment.
Right.
Something that you can spend a couple $100s on and have a really nice event.
Yeah. I think we used to just kind of budget 300.
Okay.
And it didn't usually get too much over that. So,
right.
Okay. So then the other category that we're focusing on is, the sphere or your past clients or your referral business, or some people like to call this their VIP list.
Right.
Other teams have come up with creative names to market to your VIP list, but for now, let's just call this your sphere past client VIP. So they get special treatment, right, Mindy?
They do, because the idea behind these events, the strategy behind these events is the thank you. So that's a little bit different than the last two we've talked about, because you're really wanting to do something that thanks them for their business, treats them in that VIP way, special. It's not something you're doing for everyone. It's something that really is going to hopefully spur referrals and repeat customers. That's ultimately what you're doing. Yeah. And I've always, through my different experiences, I've always believed the best way to do that is thank you. Thank you for, trusting us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for your business.
Right.
And so that's something that I know the Ed Huck team was already doing before I got here. And it's been really fun to continue to build on that and to continue to build on that momentum with the program that we offer. But one of the big things we do every year is Pie Day. Yeah. And I know that there's, other real estate teams that do it, but it's really a wonderful event. And it's very scalable. I think that's something to keep in mind too. It's a very scalable event. And we do give out a complimentary pie every Thanksgiving. And it becomes a big day where all of our past clients come in and pick up a pie.
And it's a party. I mean, we have,
right.
We say you come to our office, you're going to pick up your pie. We do order from a very specialized bakery that people know of. We do that because we started there and then people really got used to it. So we started with like 50 pies and now we're at over 500.
Right.
And they do not give us a discount.
It's scalable.
It is scalable.
You just said you don't have to start with 500 pies.
But it's so much fun. And we laugh because, I mean, it's a $10 pie or whatever. They probably more. They charge us a lot. But it's worth it because, but we laugh because so many people come and pick up this pie.
Right.
And like we've had professional athletes come pick up a free $10 pie. And we're like,
people, I mean, when I'm taking the reservations for the pies, it's wild. I mean, people will call and they'll say, I changed my mind. I need to switch from apple to pumpkin because, Aunt so-and-so is expecting me to bring the pumpkin this year, or whatever it is. I mean, people will call multiple times because they just want to make sure that we absolutely have their pie. So look at all these touch points that we're creating. I mean, look at all of these, communication tools that we're using.
Because we're consistent year after year, we're doing some of these like events that we found to be very successful early on. We did not stop doing them. And I think that adds to the momentum and the consistency. And these clients that have been in our sphere and our VIP list for years and years, they expect it.
Right.
And like, we stopped doing something and people were really upset about it and called us. What was it? Or
Was it the,
we did calendars. That's different, but it went out late. We didn't stop doing it. It went out late because of COVID or something. And they were like, where is my calendar? Because we do things every single year consistently.
Right. Well, these events are where you really, you always want to treat your guests well, but these are the red carpet events. These are the events where you really are saying thank you in the nicest way. You appreciate them as your client.
And I know you and I, because I'm always like, I want to say thank you. And what can we, how can we benefit as well? I'm always like, how can we ask for more business, or how can we get reviews? And so we do usually ask for a review in a kind of a cute way, not like a pushy way, but on Pi Day, we say we're whipping up reviews and we give them a free bottle of whipped cream if they will do a Google review or things of that nature. So I think that's okay to do, but like Mindi says, it's really ultimately a thank you. It's not trying to get more business at that event, because you're going to get the referrals.
Right. I feel like I've become a broken record during this call, but it's really about making that connection with them. If you're having they come in and they have like our spring brunch, they came in, they had this wonderful experience. Nobody was, hard selling them on when are you going to sell your house, or because they've already worked with us. Right. So they know that level of customer experience that they're going to have, and that we just want to continue that relationship. We just want to continue to keep them engaged. And that's really what these events focus on.
And that spring, we used to do a movie event. We became too big for the movie event, but that's always a great one. The tailgate you mentioned, we used to actually do it in a parking lot by the Cleveland Browns stadium, but we brought it to our office and it was just as probably more effective.
And, again, that's fun. We kind of switched topics, but again, what I loved about tailgate is we talk about home team, Huck home team tailgate, right? And wherever we have the opportunity to talk about what it is that we do and what sets us apart, that's what we want to do. That's what the benefit of events are.
Absolutely. And coming up with fun, creative events that will thank your clients is really the idea of this. And again, it's the same thing throughout all the events that you do. It's all about the phone calls that you make.
Yes.
The, before Pi Day, we call all of our clients and invite them personally. We send a postcard, we send an email, and we don't.
But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. There's other tools that you can use, but that's, where we're at currently, but
you do need to make the phone calls. Like you do need to make the phone calls, because really that's what seals the relationship.
You need to reach out, but you don't, I guess what I was saying is you don't have to do the postcards if you're not at a point where you want to spend that money. Because you could definitely execute a successful Pi Day without direct mail expenses for sure.
And there's, we did something for Mother's Day. We partnered with a local florist and gave out roses, and people do pictures with Santa. I just had a guy say that they did pictures, like the local community was doing pictures with Santa, like on the town square, and their real estate office was at the town square, and they did pictures with the Grinch on the other side.
That's funny.
Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
I know. So just kind of thinking outside of the box. So,
and actually, I just want to add one more thing before we move on, is timing for these events is also really critical and key. And that's why we did a spring brunch, is because we were looking for an activity before, that kind of spring, summer, where everything is kind of ramping up. We wanted to get back in front of our clients, remind them that we're here, we're this constant resource for them, we're their forever realtor, we're available when you need us. And that really allowed us to do so. And that was based on the timing of the year. So, that's something to keep in mind too, when you're planning these sphere events, is when do you need to really make sure you're top of mind with your audience?
The spring,
Right.
beginning of the year, middle of
Right.
the year, end of the year, all year. But that's why you sit down at the beginning of the year and come up with a marketing plan. I mean, I think whether you're a single agent or you run a big team, that it is important to have a plan. Okay, so then a sample budget for Pi Day. You said it was scalable. Tell us about how to scale that and what that looks like.
Sure. So if just a quick glance here, this is all based on the number of people that you're inviting to have a pie, but marketing expenses should be really low. I put $100 on here because there's one thing that I think you absolutely have to have from a marketing standpoint, which is stickers to go on top of your pie boxes or containers or whatever they're coming in, the plastic containers. That way, wherever that pie goes, everyone knows how you got it, that it was, from the Huck team, or, I think we even said, thank you for being a client, enjoy, happy Thanksgiving or whatnot. So I don't know if that'll cost $100 to do the stickers, but I just feel like that's something you really need to do. It boosts your brand recognition. If we know from our pie days, people are picking them up and taking them to a family member's house or a friend's house or wherever they're celebrating. So how wonderful for wherever that pie goes for everyone to know where it came from. And then pies, I would suggest budgeting $10 a pie. You can actually get them for less than this at Costco. I double checked. We do spend a little bit more on our pies, but they are from a local, very well-known baker. And they've kind of established, our event in that way. But again, this is very scalable. You don't have to offer two different kinds of pies. I think, pumpkin pies may be a little bit more affordable. I know there's some people who don't do it a pie day in Thanksgiving. They do it for 4th of July and they do apple pies. So you really
like apple and berry because it's more summertime, right?
Right. Take this and customize it to, your needs. And but I think it's a great idea. And, one that, again, if you're making the phone calls, if you're using emails, social media gets a little tricky because you want to make sure that you're only inviting your sphere, your past clients. So you can't promote it to all of the world because, then you'll be getting a lot more pies, but
be careful. Be
careful about that.
Yeah.
But you can still use all your other digital tools, and obviously the calls, like Julie said, are the most important part.
Absolutely. And you, again, like every single one of these events can partner with a title company or a lender or an insurance agent, and they can, I'm sure all they want is just their logo on it saying that they helped with the pies, and they can probably split the cost with you, if not more.
Can I circle back real quick, Julie, to social media?
Yeah,
because
sure.
I just thought of something, and you don't want to invite every person that follows you on social media to your sphere events. Like we were just saying, you want to make sure that you're inviting your past customers or VIPs. However, post event, that's a huge opportunity to go back to social and say, yesterday we hosted our pie event and we had, all of our past clients come and we gave out 30 pies or 100 pies or whatever your pie number is. We've done that with all of our VIP events, whether it's a party or, whatever we've done. We don't invite everyone.
No.
But after it, we talk about, what a great experience it is and how grateful we are to our clients and to our customers. And so that's the opportunity to tell that story.
Yes. And, you take video, you can do so many things now with the promoting afterwards for the VIP events. And, one of the things that I want to touch on too, before we wrap up, is that we do a lot of events every month. Like we will have an educational, maybe 2, sometimes 3, it's not always that great to do too many. However, like we might, if you do a buyer's workshop, a seller's workshop, and a a very specific target audience workshop to a downsizing client, those sometimes are 3 different types of phone calls. And so it doesn't really hurt to do more than one.
Right. And that's where you have to be careful though, too, because I completely agree with what you just said. You just have to make sure they're segmented out. So you're not calling the same person for 3 events.
Right.
You know, you're calling 3 different groups of people for different events.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you would want to talk about and share with folks about, you know, events in general and how powerful they are and what they've done for our team, or how to get started? Any other closing remarks?
No, I just hope that we've shared with everyone why events should be part of your marketing mix. I'm just very passionate about that. And as a marketing professional, I think they're an extraordinary tool. I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's something that maybe we missed or we glossed over too quickly, but really, you know, just think about what's right for you, what's right for your budget, and build it out accordingly. Because there's no, you know, it doesn't matter if you're hosting an event for 5 or 500. It's what's best for you.
Yeah. And I would also just add to that, you know, we had an evolution of our events. You know, it started in Ed's house.
Small.
It started in Ed's house and, you know, at the Brown Stadium, and it just started to evolve. And the way that it evolved was every year, I would say this event needs to be just a little bit larger than last year. We need to do something just a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit more, you know, different. And that kind of helped it to grow. And then we started expanding our events to having, you know, the 3 types of events. And, you know, now that we have Mindi really organizing our events at a high level, she's got everything systematized. We have templates for all the different educational events. We have the marketing materials. So it's really plug and play for our agents. And it's been pretty incredible to watch the results. You know, the people that we're able to add to our database, the clients that we're capturing, the seeds that we're planting, and really just the community involvement brings us so much joy to be able to give back to our community.
It's that, absolutely. And that's a good thing to remind everyone too, because sometimes it's so rewarding when your team is talking about these people came to a seller's workshop and now they're listing their house, you know, but it's not always immediate, and that's okay. Like sometimes there's a little bit of time in between, but that momentum that you just keep building and building and building on is really rewarding to see.
And it's such a fun part of your prospecting plan. It's a really huge part of our business model, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And actually, let me share my screen one more time because our contact information is here. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to Mindi about some of the things that she talked about, you can feel free to email her. It's Mindi@edhuckteam.com. I'm sure she's happy to share with you whatever she can around some of the events that we have. And we just kind of touched on the surface. We really didn't get too deep into what we actually do.
We could probably talk, you know, for maybe another 5 or 6 hours.
Probably. I know, but people would get bored. It is that important to us. And I really challenge you all to think of one thing that we shared with you today that maybe you could implement, you know, over the next month or 2 months. I did challenge somebody that I was talking with earlier. Hey, we're at this, you know, we're at going into July, right?
Yeah.
It's the second half of the year. If you didn't come up with a marketing event calendar in January, let's do it for the second half of the year. What kinds of things can we implement as we go through? And that I think is a really excellent challenge for us, whether you're a single agent or you run a big team. So awesome. Well, thank you, Mindi. I really appreciate your time. I know you need to get back to the marketing department. And we'll talk to you all soon. Take care.